Hello again, Jim Dowson here, guest presenter with the Templar Report. I want to bring you today something that's in the newspapers all over the world, and it's rather shocking. It's the case of the jihadi bride who went away to Syria, married an ISIS fighter, had 3 or 4 kids, just had another one, but now is in a refugee camp and she wants to come home. Now, she ran away from the East End of London when she was 15. Her name is Shamima Begum. Shamima Begum. She ran away from Tower Hamlets, a nest of Islamic extremists. And remember, the footage was her and her 2 pals. All teenagers ran away to marry Islamic State fighters. I think 2 of them have been killed. The other 2, one's been killed. Don't know what the other one is, and she's now in a refugee camp wanting to come home. And it's causing a real row, as you can imagine. So, there is one argument to say, well, this girl was groomed online and took over there and so on. And some people are saying, well, you know, 15, we all do crazy things. Yep, I smoked a couple of cigarettes behind the bike shed at 15. I didn't go and join an internationally renowned, bloodthirsty, beheading terrorist group. So, maybe that's just me. Maybe I led a sheltered life, who knows. But anyway, this Shamima Begum, the ISIS bride who travelled to Syria to join Islamic State, has called on people in the UK to have sympathy for her. This is because she had a baby the other day, and she's asking people for her sympathy. Why does she want to come home? Because she wants to come home to Britain because we have free healthcare. Interesting. An interview with a British journalist, she said to them, I quote, "Yeah, I knew about these things, like beheadings. I was okay with that. Because I heard that it was Islamically it was allowed, so I was okay with it." And she goes on to say she found heads in a bin. There's no big deal. You know, this is a disturbed individual. You know, at 15, if I'd have seen heads in a bin, I'd have been disturbed. I wouldn't be, it's okay, it's cool, normal thing. So she's looking at heads in a bin, everyone's fine. She said that she decided to join the terrorists after watching propaganda videos online in Britain. And you wouldn't need to watch them online, just go to most mosques. You'll hear the same rhetoric, because that's where the people were coming from. Asked if she'd made a mistake, she said, in a way, yes. Very pragmatic of her. But I don't regret it, because it changed me as a person. It made me stronger and tougher. I bet you it did. Shamima also revealed that she still supports the rape and the murder of the Yazidi sex slaves. This is this poor group of people who live in northern Iraq. Very, very peaceful people. They're very fair skin, blonde hair, blue eyes. Very ancient people. And the Islamic State had them all up in that mount. What was the mountain they were on? They were on some mountain. Can't remember. Remember they were all trapped in the mountain. It was horrible. Thousands of them. And shamefully the West never helped them. The West were too busy arming ISIS. And that's a fact. That's a fact. Britain and America armed ISIS. Maybe not directly, but all the other so-called good terror groups who were fighting Assad because Britain and America wanted regime change. And what did these guys do? They just handed the stuff over to ISIS. So we helped them. And all these Yazidis, thousands of them were trapped on a mountain. And they were picked off. The men were slaughtered in front of the women, so were the children. And the women of a certain age were took away as sex slaves. And there's videos all over YouTube of these women being sold and their teeth examined like horses to see if they make good sex slaves. Disgraceful. But this young girl, Shamima, from East London, who wants to come back home, has no problem with it. No problem. Because Islam allows to take the infidels as sex slaves, as booty, as bounty. Maybe booty's a better name nowadays, given the context of it. And how did the liberal press react to the news? Well, you can imagine the Guardian and all the liberals, as usual, that she was groomed and she deserves a chance of rehabilitation. Bring her back, it's not her fault. This girl's as hard as nails. She's as hard as nails. She ain't no victim. You know, but on the other hand, the same media don't have any sympathy for good, solid British men, by the way, from the left wing and from the right wing, who went to Iraq to fight against ISIS. The lefties went and fought with the Kurds mainly, because they're Reds, communists, and a lot of the Christians went and fought with the Lions further up north, the Christian militias. But when they're coming home, they're getting jailed. I'm not joking you. So there's a big debate to let this girl back, and even if she does come back, she'll face no charges, no nothing. But men, good decent men, many of them ex-army, who went there to defend people, Muslims, Christians alike, are returning home and facing jail. We've got one former British soldier, James Matthew, was prosecuted for going to Iraq to fight ISIS. Prosecuted. Another Brit, Aidan James, is facing prison for fighting ISIS. He was remanded in custody while awaiting trial. Another guy, Joe Robinson, was jailed for 7.5 years for fighting ISIS. I mean, seriously, are these men any danger at all to our national security? I don't think so. They're good patriots who went there to do the right thing. This woman, this young woman who wants to come back, she is a danger. You'd have to be an absolute idiot to allow this woman back. But here's the thing. How can we not let her back? She is a British citizen. She was born in Britain. She was born in Bethnal Green or Tower Hamlets. She's born here, and this is where the right now is getting a bit confused because, you know, we've been taught this mantra for years and years and years that racism is bad. Well, racism in the modern context, as people understand it, is bad. But to be proud of your race is not bad. So what makes somebody British? Well, Britain is made up of 3 countries, some could argue 4 countries, Scotland, England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Well, Northern Ireland's really a province, it gets complicated. But anyway, let's just say it's made up of 4 places. So, to be British, it's a political construct. So we've all joined together, mainly voluntarily, to have a union of nations, and we call ourselves Great Britain. That's fine. It's like America. The states came together to form the United States of America. So it's a political decision to be British. And I suppose even to be American. There is no ethnicity of American. But in Europe, we're an ancient people. You certainly can be Irish. You can be Scottish. You can be Welsh. And of course, nowadays, there's a lot of people running about on the so-called right wing saying, no, 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 no. If you live here, you were born here, you're British. You can't have it both ways. If you actually believe that, you have no right being on Tommy Robinson's Facebook page saying, don't let this woman back. She was born here. She's got every right to come back. However, I am not a liberal like some of the other silly pretend right-wing people. I don't believe you can be Scottish, Irish, English or Welsh just because you're born here. Jesus was born in a stable. It didn't make him a donkey. It's as simple as that. I could go on holiday with my wife and she could be pregnant and we could go to Ghana and my wife could have that baby in Ghana. Does that mean my son or daughter's African? No, not the slightest. They'll be Ulster Scots because I'm an Ulster Scot and the child's mother is Ulster Scots. So the DNA and blood in that child's veins are Ulster Scots. Doesn't matter where they're born. They could be born in Timbuktu or Hanoi. It doesn't matter. They'll be what they'll be. So you cannot have it both ways. So the people who are on the so-called new modern right are all saying, get her out. She's no good because it's connected to Islam and they're fanatical about ending Islam. But at the same time, these are the same people who preach that the old right-wing people like me are wrong because I don't believe just because you're born in Britain, you're British. So you can't have it both ways. If you actually believe your own propaganda, this girl must be allowed back. She must be allowed back because she was born in Britain, she's British. Doesn't matter if she wants to kill us all in our beds, chop our heads off and murder our children. Doesn't matter. What I'm saying is this woman will never be British as long as she lives. And I think a lot of people are coming around to my way of thinking because it's the correct way of thinking. Don't be brainwashed with these counter-jihad half-wits who are only interested in one thing and that's Islam. We have to look at things like nationality, racial identity. We have to look at these things. It's a fact. Or else you go down the left-wing road. And today, I am Jim Dowson. I identify as an Ulster Scotch or Scotch-Irish. Maybe tomorrow I'll identify as a African female. Who knows? Let's get real about this. You are what you are. And anybody tells you any different is a fool. And if you believe it, you're a bigger fool. So, let's look at some of these people. Now remember, we have form in the United Kingdom for being soft on returning jihadis. Do you remember the last time we allowed a jihadi to return from a war zone? Well, I want you to pay attention to this. Salman Abedi returned from Libya after fighting against Gaddafi with basically a nod and a wink because we didn't like Gaddafi. So it's okay to go and fight against Gaddafi because we didn't like him, but it's not okay to go and fight for Assad because we're trying to do a regime change. But this guy went to Libya, fought against Gaddafi, and after he returned to the UK, he blew up 22 children at the Ariana Grande concert in Manchester. Do you remember that? Dead kids lying all over the concert arena. Yep. And this is the same guy who flew ISIS flags from his house. This is the guy who was on the street outside his house shouting and bawling, Allah Akbar. This is the guy, when his neighbours complained about his ISIS flag flying from his window, his screams of Allah Akbar, his attendance at a radical mosque where 22 young men or 30 young men have went and fought for ISIS and most of them have died. This is the man that when his neighbours complained to the British authorities, the police included, were cautioned for being racist. And a few days later, he went and blew up an Ariana Grande concert full of kids and killed 22 people. That's what happens. That's how mad our authorities are. And that's how terrified they are with upsetting the Muslim community. They don't mind sacrificing our kids rather than upset a Muslim. So this girl will be allowed back. Make no mistake about it. She will be allowed back. Nothing will happen to her. She'll go on social welfare benefits. She'll get a free house. She'll get free medical care. And she'll get about £1,000. That's about, what, $1,400 a month from the state. So she can plot to destroy even more of our people. And that's the way it is. So if you think the security services can protect you, you're wrong. They were warned about the Manchester bombing, even by the FBI. The FBI contacted the British and warned them about this guy. Our authorities, our MI5, our, what's that counter-terrorist mob? CO15 or SO15 did nothing. Special branch did nothing. Because they don't want to arrest these poor Muslims, because that'll just look like racism and everybody will get upset and the Guardian might write a nasty piece about you. And the chief constable of that area anyway is so busy handing out gay pride coloured hats to his officers. He's too busy to be bothered with worrying about people, kids getting blown up in a concert. That's where we are, folks. So my opinion, the Templars' opinion, is this girl, according to the law, she is a British citizen. Yes, let her back. Bring her back. She's a British citizen. In law, she's entitled to come back. That's it. You can't do nothing about it. Bring her back and put her through due process. And hopefully a jury of her peers will convict her of terrorist activities, take her children from her, give them to people who are proper mothers and fathers, and put her in jail for the rest of her natural life. It's a pity we don't have the treason laws in action anymore where we could take her out the back and shoot her by firing squad. But that's what should happen. Bring her back, jail her. Try her, jail her. Put them in jail for the rest of her life and she's off her back. But for those people who say she can't come back, she shouldn't be here. Well, I agree with you. But the law at the moment was made by idiots like you who reckon just because you're born in a country means you're British. Nah. If they believed in the way I think, she wouldn't have been here in the first place. But she is. We have to deal with it. You have to deal with it. It's the laws you made with your opinion. So bring her back. Let's get her in court. Let's get her tried. Hopefully let's get her found guilty. It's pretty obvious she will be found guilty because it's a matter of record, what she said. And throw her in the darkest dungeon that we have in this country. Does the Queen still put folk in the Tower of London? Does she know? There must be some horrible place the Queen's got somewhere. I'm sure the Queen's got a very nasty place for traitors. Get her in there and throw away the key. And there's hundreds like her. In fact, we reckon now there's about 4,000 former jihadis living back in the United Kingdom. And why? Because their commanders told them, we can't fight here anymore. And the foreign fighters stand out like a sore thumb. Go back to your own countries. Go back to America. Go back to Germany. Go back to Britain. Go back to Ireland. And stay quiet until you're instructed to move. So we've got 4,000 people like coiled springs, experienced fighters, experienced killers, just ready at any moment to take our children's lives. That's where we are, but I can tell you something. The Templars know about it, the Templars are on it. So again, you can help with us at this time because every country is getting affected with these mad jihadis returning home. They spread their poison and cancer of terrorism amongst our people. And as I've just explained, the nonsense that you can keep these people out if they're actual citizens of your country, that's just idiots doing this on Facebook to gather likes and just, you know, make you feel better. We have a petition. But a proper petition. Jail the jihadi. Look, international law means she is coming back and other ones are going back to your country. But what we can do is bring these folk back and put them through due process of law. We're not savages like these people. Let's put them through due process and lock them up. So we have a petition. I want you to sign it and I want you to share it to everybody on your social media. Your Facebook, your Twitter, whatever. There was these other things, Instagram or whatever. I don't know what they all are, but I'm sure you know what they are. And even your email list. Email it out and say, this is important. Would you sign this? So we have a website, www.jailthejihadi.com. I'll repeat that. www.jailthejihadi.com. Get it signed, get it passed around to friends, and it empowers you to actually do something. Not just sit there moaning and groaning. Actually get up off your backside and do something for 10, 15 minutes, and it'll really help out. We will get this petition together, and we will put this in front of the government and say, look, we want this woman tried for what she is as a criminal and a traitor to this country. And traitors, only a few years ago, used to be executed. We don't do that now, but let's at least get her put in jail for the rest of her natural. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
The threat is real, and we are on the front line. In a world of misinformation and attacks from the left and mainstream media, censorship, deplatforming, it is time to call out the fake news and bring you the truth. We are the Knights Templar. Visit our website and join today. We are the Resistance. Deus Vult.